Bounce back
Of
from last week, losing 3. What kind of attitude do you see for them come back this week?
well, we would have potentially found out a little bit yesterday. All we did was take batting practice over there, and I read what some of our guys said about the perfect team to play and all that. Yeah, certainly that's a good measuring stick, playing the #1 team in the country. We certainly have to play better baseball. So I think their mindset's okay. Coaches probably take it the hardest. I hope that they take it to heart and that it influences them to work even harder. And the word finish kind of was thrown in their face at the end of the series. Not just finish series off and finish games off, but finish plays off, offensively and defensively. And the first opportunity that we had to do something about it, because Monday's a typically day off, except for they lift weights, was yesterday against the Beavers, and Mother Nature took that opportunity away from us. And, that was unfortunate. We made the drive there and anxious to compete with them, and couldn't do it.
Second week in a row, you made a long drive.
I know.
Turn around and come back.
It's about time for spring to come, I think. And, I guess probably had we not had some room to make up the game with the Beavers and with the Pilots, that we might have taken a different approach to both those games. Although, from my understanding, some of our people stayed in the Portland area after we canceled that one, and they said it was a good move. I don't know what Corvallis was like, but they're experts in their area, which you have to trust when you're on the road. Had it raining pretty steadily for 3 hours, and I think the cumulative effect of standing in that a lot of times this year for both of us, the Beavers and us, didn't want to go down that road again necessarily.
What's your scouting report on the Devils?
Well, they're young and talented. Good players go to Arizona State. Obviously their overall record is not a typical Arizona State type record. Seem to be having a tough time getting people out. Their ERA is very high. And looks like they take some young at bats, meaning that pitch selection is probably not one of their strengths, and that shows up sometimes with our young players too. But then the high side of that, some of those young players can really do some special things. The Gage Canning kid was the freshman of the year last year, I believe. We had a tough time getting him out last year in Tempe, so he's back, and I know they've got some good young players.
You have a sense that your guys are aware of postseason picture and kind of being what looks like a bubble team right now after the last couple weekends?
Yeah, we used the term fighting for our lives. We dug a big hole. We were right in the 30s RPI wise and had big aspirations of having that weekend go better. And we had up to that point, until Stanford came in and whooped us, our overall home record was pretty darn good. So, I read some of the pundit stuff of it's the first time we've been swept since 11, and first time that Stanford swept somebody on the road for a long time. And we hate to be the downside of those kind of first time things, and rather be the other way. But we've got half of our league season still in front of us, albeit some very good opponents, and easier said than done. And you kind of do the math. If we just go 2 out of 3 the whole way, then that's 10-5, and we end up with a winning record in conference, which I think is a good in the pack. It's not our goals and aspirations, but where we are now, if you said, would you make that deal? I'd say probably yes. That if we're winning 2 out of 3s instead of sweeping one team and getting swept, then that probably means that all those middle of the pack teams, including us, might change places. So, stranger things can happen to anybody. The Beavers got to stay pat, continue to play well, and I don't see them falling on their face because they're awfully good. But anything can happen to our conference. As you're seeing some of the bottom teams that were really the bottom teams a few weeks ago are starting to get hot. IU, Utah, and Washington State had a nice weekend over the Huskies. And so it just, our conference is a spectacular conference. Anybody can beat anybody.
You counting on having the same old Petey back? He feeling better?
Hope so.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that was necessarily a terrible PD. That was just wasn't a spectacular PD. You know, shame on him. He gave up 3 runs. You know, or 4 runs, I guess it was. And, you know, it was up to us to kind of back him up there, back him, and if he had a little bobble, he still certainly pitched well enough to win.
Stick with Isaiah on Sunday?
No, that's going to be kind of a TBA thing. Right now, we're probably leaning towards Stringer. Unless we need to use Stringer to get Friday or Saturday. Yeah. Isaiah will have to work his way back in to good graces. He hasn't been able to get us deep in the game for a while since BYU.
Stringer's kind of worked his way back into the good graces and some of the stuff he's done.
He's been good. You know, he hasn't been outstanding and he hasn't been shut down, but you know, it's been a hitter here, a hitter there, and you kind of have to watch him the 3rd time through the order, in my opinion. And guys have seen him a couple times, and I hope he makes me a liar and he can get all the way through a game if he starts. But that's kind of been his thing. He pitches pretty good, but has one spot where an inning gets away from him, and usually that's after they've seen him a little bit.
Got an email that Yovan made another watch list this morning. It seems like he's kind of starting to rack up a lot of accolades in that sense. What's it been like kind of just watching him develop throughout the year and kind of settle into that closer role?
Oh, words can't describe it. I mean, although he got hammered pretty good against Stanford, they squared up some balls against him, and that was his first earned runs. That surprised me. Stanford did a nice job, and you know, I continue to say he's had a spectacular freshman year, not only numbers-wise but presence-wise. And you know, you put a lot of burden on a young man to be that guy on his college baseball team, and he's embraced that in a big way. I think he's down the road. He's got a chance to even do more, because I think he didn't get to really establish himself as a 2-way player in the fall because of his academic struggles. And I think that he might be an impactful position player type guy, hitter type guy as well. So we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, did you kind of know what you had in him when you were watching him last spring? I mean, obviously, like you said, he swung the bat a little bit for you guys, but did you see him kind of jump into a closer role or staying in the rotation? Or
yeah, to a point where we didn't think we were going to get him. You know, he wasn't the Phi Beta Kappa guy in high school. He was, you know, he got into University of Oregon, so I'm not taking anything away from that. Academics wasn't his strong point. Got to know the kid more and more, and the dad, and great relationship with them, and we felt like we'd be real fortunate. The pros stayed away from him, we'd have a chance, and he was very committed to go to our campus and be a college athlete if the money wasn't right, and they didn't want to pony up the money, so good for us. But I didn't see him as much as Coach Waz did before he left, and Coach Ullman, and we knew exactly who we had, and he had a chance to really be special.
And obviously, it's a pretty hard thing to do at this level, play both ways. What kind of bat do you think he could be if he, like you said, does settle into that role?
You know, a guy he reminds me of, and this is putting a little pressure on him, would be Dylan Davis from Oregon State. You know, he could be a Ryan Healy type. He's got explosion in his bat and life in his bat. He's got holes in his swing a little bit now, and you'd have to work on correcting that a little bit. But don't all young hitters. And I'd say Dylan Davis, Conforto deal, that could be a poor man's version, not to put that on Matthews, that he's Michael Conforto, but those two guys being the same grade could end up being a 1-2 punch in the middle of our order. If it's anything like those two guys from the Beavers, we'd be in good shape.
Wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, we wouldn't mind that at all.
Does that become difficult too when guys does so well as a closer as a freshman, but I assume he probably also has a starter type arm? I mean, do you make it tough on you to say, look, we've got a guy who could be the best closer in the nation? Do we make a risk to have him be a guy who can be a weekend starter?
Yeah, you've overheard our staff meetings, and you know, if we're struggling on Sunday and you're sitting there and Kenyon's not getting the pitch when it matters, do you start training him like we did Mercer? Mercer was in relief, and then he became the Sunday guy out of attrition last year, and so it's something that we have considered. The other guy is Ryan Nelson now. He'll throw today competitively, and if everything goes well, he'll be in the mix. Possibly for some, you know, he wouldn't be able to get deep into the game because he'd have to build his arm up. But there's a real electric arm too, a freshman that could add to the fact of why would we keep Styles, Swetch, Warren, Jovan, and Nelson in the back end when some of those guys can potentially start. So
How many
yeah,
pitches could Kenyon throw right now?
without hurting him, I'd say probably 60 or 70, but it's right in there. We'd have to keep a close eye on him when he got over 50 probably. As competitive as he is, he'd probably tell you he feels fine. But you know, he's got a future beyond college, so you got to be careful with that.